Hello everybody and welcome to another edition of Magic Mics, proudly sponsored by CoolStuffInc.com, Mana Traders, as well as Twitch subscribers and Patreon supporters, just like yourself. I am Evan Irwin, and we get started each week by saying hello to my two co-hosts, MTG Nerd Girl.
Hey guys, welcome back.
Ruben Bressler.
Good afternoon. Or evening, I guess, for y'all. Or for Evan, at least.
It's evening for me. It's nice. It's quaint. I'll be out of here before supper time, so that's good.
That's good.
Yeah, get my supper on. It said if you missed our pre-show, patrons and subscribers to this channel get access to our NSFW version early. And with that, we kick it off with our first pick in our giveaway. Get your chance at $50 worth of anything at CoolStuffInc.com by typing !raffle in the chat. But subscribe first. You can use those dangling primes, as you were. Subscribing first to get 2 chances to win and support your favorite streamer with your suggestions at the end of the show to see who we raid this evening. That is thanks to our sponsor, CoolStuffInc.com. You can find cool stuff in stock every single freaking day. I'm telling you can. Sweet store. That said, let's get here underway here with our first pick. There was an announcement day. There was a lot of announcements that came out. It's funny. As much as, at least recently, we've heard about, we're gonna, we might slow down just a little bit. We might just pull back a little bit. Might just give a little bit of room. No. We've got previews for March of the Machine. We've got a preview for Aftermath. We've got product shots for Lord of the Rings. Like, everything is right. And suddenly we now have a new Masters set, Commander Masters. Commander Masters is coming out on August 4th, 2023. They've already previewed Jeweled Lotus, which is like $70-something. The Dragon, which is like $25. And Capture of Jingzhou, or Jingzhou. Not sure how to say that. But either way, that's the first booster reprinting. They've had a Judge promo, but never actually a booster reprinting till now. And that's going to be worth a whole bunch of money. So it's a master set. So they're going to have like 2 rares in every pack. They're going to have 4 precons that are going to have like new cards in them. For a master set? Question mark.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well,
that's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot, right? And so, they're going to have draft boosters and collector boosters. This is going to be a master's product, so my expectation is going to be priced like a master set, which is they're going to be the most expensive packs. They're going to be like $10, $12 packs or whatever, base, and then the collector packs are going to be probably $25, $30, if not more, depending on how insane the set happens to be. And I was talking about this with a friend of mine about, when they do these master sets, it's really interesting this time because Wizards, they got people who know the market exists. They got people who know how much what cards are existing, whatever. And there's a certain amount of reprint equity that they're comfortable with in each reprint set, whether it was a master set or any other type of reprint set. And, what happens now is you have a certain amount of reprint equity that they know they can put in the set and they know is in the set. But now we have a whole question mark of these new cards that could add more value than expected because you're not using up any reprint equity at all when you put brand new cards into those products. And so it's really interesting how they can add value without removing reprint equity from any other card that they didn't choose to reprint. Does that make sense?
It does.
I was like, that's really cool. Interesting.
I mean, what reprint equity at this point?
I mean, reprint equity is reprint equity. Like, these cards are worth dollars. Even when reprinted, they're worth good dollars.
That's true. I think that that it's a home run. I mean, if you had told me that a set was going to come out later this year, the odds-on favorite for what that set would be named would be Commander Masters. I think that's the easiest home run combination of words Magic the Gathering had at their disposal. Super easy to say that was coming down the pike. Exciting that they announced it. It is, again, product fatigue. Like, this is a lot of stuff. They gave us a lot of news all at the same time, so they just turned on the fire hose. I would have, again, liked for them to have split this up, let us be hyped for a thing without having to be hyped for 2 other things.
Yeah, I just went to release weekend. The next weekend, I went to Magic 30 Philly, and there's spoilers. And I'm just like, wait, huh?
We've been drinking from the fire hose for years now, quite frankly.
Yeah.
And it hurts a little bit. That's just kind of how it is.
I would just rather not, though.
Yeah, I certainly understand, as it were. Now, not only did they announce the fact that they're going to have Eldrazi colorless commander decks. I don't know what's in that one, but it's probably going to be nuts. And there's also a Sliver one, 5-color one, which could also be insane. They did announce the official product lineup for Lord of the Rings Tales of Middle-earth. This is, again, I would argue this is Modern Horizons 3 in a different name. Y'all watch out when these cards are insane and these decks are nuts. But they are going to have set Jumpstart. I hate it, but I wish they wouldn't, but they're going to have it. Of course, they're going to have pre-releases and stuff. They're going to have draft boosters with it on there, set boosters, collector boosters. Now, note, collector boosters say may include a serialized ring card. What does that mean? What does that mean?
Ring?
I'm guessing it's going to be similar to the, like, serialized would mean like the Brothers War.
Oh, yeah.
Inventions, right?
Yeah. X of 1,
and
yes.
There's the 1 ring, but there were 7 rings? 9 total? Or is it 8 and then 9?
Well, there were 9 rings for the Kings of Men.
So 10 total.
There were,
oh my God.
Well, there were...
So I'm wondering if it's going to be like swords. Are they going to have 10 different rings in the set?
If they make the 1 ring and it is 1 of 1, that thing can buy a house. Like, it's going to be
serialized
insane.
1 rings. Yeah, there were 9 rings for the Kings of Men in their shoot. What
7 for dwarves and 3 for elves. Yes.
7 rings for the Dwarven Kings in their Halls of Stone. 3 rings for the Elven Kings, and then 1 ring to rule them all, and in the darkness bind them.
Yep.
Yeah, we did it. Good job, team.
My guess is this is like a treatment, like an oil slick or whatever, a hollow foil, and it looks really cool, and it's serialized X of Y. And so, again, even if they do have the 1 ring and there is X of 500, the number 1 is going to be worth an infinite amount of
course.
dollars, like a stupid amount of money. Just crazy.
Well, that and number 69.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
And 420, because they did it out of 500 for the last set. So, I mean, I'm assuming it's going to be something similar.
Yeah, the sex number and the drug number. It's going to be all super cool. But, yeah, that's going to be... So, Lord of the Rings is going to be out at the end of May. We'll have some more information on it the middle of next month, it appears. I know that Wizards is super duper hyped, and I have seen nothing to slow down the hype train. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. I mean, the Lord of the Rings set, I wish that they had focused more on the hype for that. It felt like that sort of got steamrolled by the other stuff that they announced. I guess you needed to have... I wanted them to partition this out. I wanted them to have March of the Machines / Aftermath Day. Cool. Like, that's what we're getting hyped for this episode. Then next week, we'll talk all about Lord of the Rings. Then the next week, we'll talk all about whatever we're announcing later. Maybe there's not enough individual content for them to announce for each of those 3 things, but it definitely felt like the Lord of the Rings stuff got buried.
So, the Lord of the Rings set, it's you were saying it's like almost like the new Modern Masters, but is it going to be a standard legal set, or is this one of the supplemental sets?
It's just like Modern Horizons. It goes right into Modern and
it goes straight into Modern.
Back.
Got it.
Yep.
I thought Lord of the Rings was a standard legal.
That's what I had originally thought as well when it was first announced, but everything I'm hearing now makes it sound like it is not.
Oh,
okay.
So, and for the first pick, for something that, ladies and gentlemen, I have been waiting well over 5 years for. Well over. Is the ability coming next Tuesday to your Magic Arena client. Is the ability to favorite an art style version of a card, whether it's lands or anything else. They got a little video of it here, like actually up and running and doing the thing. And I was just absolutely thrilled. I cannot wait. I am pumped. I cannot tell you the amount of time I've wasted in my life removing lands, forgetting I had styles that I just like, oh, I got a really cool style that I just forgot I had, and I didn't see it because the other ones overrode it, and I hated it. And we've asked for it for a very long time. Understanding the fact that this upgrade does not sell them more packs, doesn't necessarily make them more money, but my lord, it will make everyone who uses Arena so much happier.
I mean, it will make them more money, I truly believe. I think the issue as to why they were not focused on it is because they could not prove that it will make them more money.
Right.
But I, for one, am a holdout in which I do not buy cosmetic lands and things like that because I know I'm not going to go through the trouble of using them. So I myself will be a little bit more inclined to purchase some of the cool art lands and stuff like that.
Yeah, very nice.
Yeah. It's like trying to convince people that advertising works. If you can't see that it itself is making you money, it's very difficult to translate it in your mind if you're not used to how it works. But UI improvements and ease of use and quality of life improvements are going to make more people use the program. That's the end of the sentence.
That was definitely my argument.
They're also going to help, UI improvements like this will save people time, meaning that they'll click your program more. And if they're clicking on your program more, they're going to spend more money because they got more time.
Yeah. How much time do you spend every single draft changing out the basic lands that if you add up enough drafts turns into another draft?
Mm-hmm. I'm telling you, it's incremental. But again, this is 5 years of dealing with this. So even after 5 years, I've probably lost a good half hour of my life just clicking the stupid cards and changing the style. And oh my God. Yeah, it's crazy. So I'm so excited about this. I've asked for it and begged for it for literally years. So I have to bring it up. Now, they did, as we discussed a little bit, in terms of announcement day, they also talked about March of the Machine. Now, March of the Machine is going to supposedly bring us the battle card type, and there's a few inklings and reasons why that may be so. But what it also had is a bunch of previews that look pretty freaking rad. Like Jin Jataxius, no Progress Tyrant or whatever, nothing, just Jin
the name.
Jataxius.
And from what I understand, they're going to do a full cycle of these.
They love their cycles.
It turns into a saga, which is insane.
Right.
Yeah.
They're going to do a full cycle of things like Jin Gataxius that can turn into sagas with the Praetor's interpretation of the Phyrexian scriptures as the saga, which I think is really fascinating. I think that's a really interesting way to do that. And Jin Gataxius, I think, is the Great Synthesis.
That's right.
Is the back of the card. So Vorinclex would be the Grand Evolution. I believe Urabrask is the Great Work. Shale Dreads would be the Phyrexian Scriptures, which there's already a card called Phyrexian Scriptures.
Right.
So it might have to be called the Phyrexian Scriptures, which would get very confusing.
What if it was just the Phyrexian Scriptures on the back, right?
It would be cool.
But the last part of Chapter 3 is, they had to change it to like the. But,
they would have to flip it back.
The last part is to flip it back. Yeah, they're kind of cool.
And then the Machine Orthodoxy is the white, is Elish Norn's. So that would be, they each have their own interpretations, and they're each sort of separate, religious sects within the Phyrexian Orthodoxy of the, we'll call it a religion, which is very cool. I think it's a great idea, and all of the stuff that we've seen from March of the Machines looks absolutely wild.
Yeah, the idea that you have the rare sorcery that each player mills 10 cards, and for each player, you get to put one of those cards on the battlefield for you. That's just Commander goodness, which is amazing. Here we have things called the invasion of stuff, the invasion of Alara, the invasion of Tarkir. My God, the invasion of Chandalar. Y'all, we did it. We went all the way to the video game realm. They showed some amazing previews like Yargle and Multani, which has some of the greatest flavor text I've ever seen. Galta and Mavrin can now come out in turn 2 in Historic/Explorer, thanks to Sorin, putting vampires into play. This is a 12/12 trampler that does scary things. And look, Thalia...
trampling dinosaur vampire.
That's right. And Thalia and the Gitrog monster, I mean, that's just cool. That's just cool.
A good solid card. Yeah, the team-ups are cool. I think that it's an interesting way to reintroduce these characters and make new cards, and I'm pretty excited for it.
Those are Siege Rhinos mana costs.
Yeah, as they should be, which I think is brilliant. I absolutely love it. I didn't even know. This is one of those things like you didn't know until they showed it to you, and I was like, oh my God, of course team-ups are brilliant. Team-ups are insane. They've never done team-ups like this before. It's absolutely fantastic. They are doing the Gainlands again, and they're showing you different worlds that have been taken over by Phyrexia. This, and also know, this is Phyrexia winning. Not just Phyrexia all will be one, they're the bad guys, it's Empire Strikes Back. No, this is like the Empire Strikes Back, and there was no Return of the Jedi. They're just taking over everything. And Heliod, the Radiant Dawn, they're turning gods into Phyrexian gods, which Omnath with the black Phyrexia mana symbol, I mean, come on. Just
the
like
completed Omnath is very cool. So one of the big problems I have with 5-color commanders is that they end up just good stuff decks. And Omnath is the type of 5-color commander that encourages you to build your deck in a different way, which I really appreciate. Heliod getting completed couldn't have happened to a nicer guy. Up his, get him out of here.
Wait, I don't know the lore. What's wrong with Heliod?
Heliod is the reason why Elspeth died in the first place.
Yeah.
Oh.
Heliod was like, "You're my champion," and then Elspeth did the thing, and then Heliod was like, "Good job, but also now I think you're gonna usurp my throne." Stab.
You're too powerful, and he had to like get rid of her, and then he stabbed.
Yeah.
Her.
Yeah.
Huh.
He's a jerk.
Yeah,
he's
jerk.
not a nice guy.
He's jerk face. But we see Moment of Truth. Now, one of the things that I heard, a rumor that I heard, was that Elspeth is going to turn into an angel planeswalker. And you can see here, there's some feathers around there. There's the Moment of Truth. Yet another brainstormy type variant for 2 mana,
Okay.
which I will take. I think that's cool.
This is telling time, right? Isn't that what that card is? Isn't that what Moment of Truth is?
Yeah, that's pretty much telling time, right? Except it goes
Except for
into
puts
your...
it on the bottom.
Well, once it goes
graveyard.
to your graveyard.
No, it puts it on the graveyard. Interesting. Okay.
Right. Because telling time was one in your hand, one on the top of your library, and one on the
And
bottom.
one on the bottom.
Yeah, this is in your graveyard, which is pretty cool. It's like
Mine's much better.
strategic
Strategic planning.
planning. Thank you so much. So, there's some details, some commander, things, some important dates for you and whatnot. But overall, this is cool. I look at Elspeth on the collector boosters. Like, she looks awesome.
She's great.
She's coming to kick some butt. That's all I'm saying.
That's a pretty cool collector booster box. It almost reminds me of Kamigawa.
Yep.
Like
The
it's like
neon.
Kamigawa meets like Marvel.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
This is definitely the end game.
Yes.
Or not end game. Infinity War. Like we're in the, like you said, the return of the
Empire Strikes Back.
Empire Strikes Back era. And there was a year and a half, 3 years, whatever, between when that came out and Return of the Jedi. Like, there was a year and a half between Infinity War and Endgame.
It's true.
We're in that like all is lost era of Magic, which I think is great. It's always the most interesting part of the story. The end of Act 3, the beginning of Act 4 of your 5-act play, when all is lost and nothing is salvageable, is always the best.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, even stuff like Invasion of Mercadia. Have you seen this?
I saw that.
Mercadia. We talking to Mercadia like 22 years or something? Like, oh my God. So that's incredible.
They're invading the Upside Down Mountain.
Yeah,
which is great.
Yeah. The city, the market city. Very cool. Now, one of the things they're also bringing back for the Commander decks is Planechase. Ladies and gentlemen, Planechase returns. Has it been like 10 years since the last Planechase release? Maybe 8 years? It's been a hot
Something
minute.
like that.
It's been a long time.
Yeah.
But either way, there are going to be 5 new and 5 reprints with each March of the Machine Commander deck. And they previewed some here, which is cool. And so we'll get to have planar dice back. We'll get to have cool Planechase stuff. I can't wait to see what kind of content we're going to make with Planechase stuff. Should be super fun.
I like them keywording when chaos ensues.
Yes.
That feels real good.
That is actually really cool. Now, March of the Machine is going to have a Brothers War-esque, Strixhaven-esque, bonus sheet that is not going to be standard legal and is going to contain reprints of iconic characters in their home planes, booster fun, treatment. Ladies and gentlemen, that is Ragavan Nimble Pilferer coming to Arena. It is like...
As a masterpiece.
Barreling down. I'm so pumped. I've not been able to play with this card. I don't play a lot of Magic Online. That's where you would basically be playing it. So now I'm like, oh my God, please don't pre-ban it. Like, at least let us play with the stupid powerful crap and then ban it later. But don't let me, let's go play with the monkey. It's cool. And attracts a Praetor's Voice. That's a hell of a Magic card for 4 mana. So
Yeah.
we'll see
One
if
of the most popular commanders of all time. Very cool concept to put these cards in the treatments of the special printings of their sets. So we'll get, Fang printings of characters from the original Innistrad, maybe. We get Ragavan as a Kaladesh masterpiece. Very interesting and cool way to do this.
Yeah. I like the masterpieces. I'm surprised that Ragavan's hitting Arena. Hopefully that's a good sign for, some more Eternal formats getting on there.
I mean, you will have 4 of my Mythic wild cards, I promise you. Day 1, let me play with that Ragavan. It's going to be dope. Yeah, so Jin-Gitaxias has that cool treatment from 1. Heliod has the enchantment version and still robot-y version on the other side. I mean, look at this Dominaria, Yargle, and Multani.
Oh my god.
Is incredible.
That is the coolest thing I've ever seen. The Galta and Mavrin card, there was a special art for that from somewhere.
Oh, with like a coin like in the middle of it?
With the coin etching.
Yeah. That might be in here
and
somewhere.
The artist of that, I forget the name of the artist, but the artist of that is who did the art for the British pound, I'm pretty sure.
Oh.
Like the picture of the Queen.
Wow. Okay.
So that is a magic artist now? I'm pretty sure that's what it was.
It was a really cool version. I'm not sure if they have it in here, but either way, the Buy a Box promo is the Omnath Locus of All, and Galta and Mavrin is the bundle promo. They did unveil the we've already talked about these, the promos for the pre-release at your game store. You can get Eternal Witnesses, Court of Callings, and Niv Miz at the Fire Mines. So here's something weird that they did. In addition to the foil stamp promo card from the set, March of the Machine pre-release packs include an additional legendary promo card for Commander play only. So you can't use it in your sealed deck. You can only use it in Commander. It's not legal anywhere else, or Legacy, or whatever, the old formats. And they're really cool cards, like Goro Goro and Satoru, Catilda and Lear, and Slimefoot and Slimefoot and Squee, everybody.
Yeah.
Like, that's amazing.
The perfect team up.
Yep, perfect team up. Love it. So, yeah, these are cool, but, Commander only cards in pre-release boxes that you can't use in pre-release decks.
I don't like that.
It's
I don't
weird.
like that it's in your pre-release box, but you can't use it.
Right.
That's just bad UI.
It just feels
That is weird.
Yeah. Because, and now I understand, as soon as they said everyone's getting one, I understand that you don't necessarily want everyone trying to build around these same 3 cards with their pools or whatever. But at the same time, maybe you just give away more of them in a random fashion, because I would love to try to build around these cards if I were to open them, but I also agree I don't want the whole table to try to run Goro Goro, So, it's a thing. It's weird. It's definitely unique. There's going to be secret layers, of course, as they do. There's upcoming secret layers, including Questing Beast, which is kind of neat, and some other cards.
Oh, using the cool treatments. That's awesome.
Yeah. Which looks rad. I mean, Olivia Voldarian looks pretty neat. Wheel and Deal looks great.
I mean, that's the best Questing Beast I've ever seen.
That Questing Beast looks amazing, and that's one of my favorite, alternate art things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
storybook.
Gorgeous frame. Gorgeous frame.
That's spectacular.
And it has 37 abilities, so who doesn't love a Questing
Sure,
Beast?
but this also looks like the Questing Beast from Myth, which I really appreciate. That World Tree is spectacular. Mm-hmm. I mean, these are great.
Yeah, these are really sweet. So, March of the Machine, the Aftermath. The Aftermath are going to be 5 card packs that are going to have 5 cards in them. So, I'm not exactly sure what's going to be in them, per se, but they did give us 1 card. Apparently, it's going to be very story-focused. And it's story-focused because you remember the card Happily Ever After, they're dead now. The Kenrith's Royal Funeral was shown to us as a legendary enchantment that gets creatures out of the graveyards to replay them and so on. But that also means, look at the Holding Hands. Come on, man. That's a lot.
That is the parents.
Yes, the parents.
Which kind of confirms that Will and Rowan will survive? Question mark? Maybe?
I guess they're in is that Will on the left there?
No, this is the King and Queen. This is neither of the twins.
Well, he said on the left, the knight that's kneeling. Is that a character?
Oh, maybe.
Right.
I don't think that's Will.
I don't think so either. No,
because Will, they're both like mages. This is very knight-esque.
And it's also purple, so but again, them holding hands, just like very emotional, moment for the story and what's going on there, and it's like what happens as a result of all these crazy Phyrexian invasions.
Yeah,
right.
It's nice that we are getting a little confirmation that they aren't just going to, forsooth Teferi makes time magic happen and nothing has consequences, right? Like that would suck, in my opinion. I think that's a cop-out for them to just be like, oh no, everything went wrong, and then we went back in time and none of it happened. I like that there's clearly going to be some amount of damage
repercussions, right? Yeah, I mean, if you just get into like a time bubble and just turn it back to the way it was before, and it's like the end of a sitcom episode.
You would feel cheated a little bit, right?
Yeah,
like the way that they handled Endgame and Avengers, they fixed a lot of it, but they didn't fix all of it. Like the repercussions of what happened, sure, the good guys won, but there were heavy casualties.
Right.
Yeah.
Like Tony's not coming back, right? Like, so, that's the thing. So one of the other things that was unveiled over this past weekend, which was a Pro Tour weekend, by the way, if you weren't aware, which we'll talk about here in just a minute. But one of the things they did debut during the event was the card for the World Champion from 2021, right?
That's Yuta Takahashi.
Yep, Yuta Takahashi. So let's take a look here at his card, which is the Fairy Mastermind, a blue and a colorless mana for a 2/1 rare fairy rogue with flash and flying, and whenever an opponent draws their second card each turn, you draw a card, and for a white and 3 generic mana colon, each player draws a card. So I can not only see this being interesting in a fairy-type rogue deck, because it's got good stat lines and so on, but actually in Commander, that's relevant text.
Please have flavor text. Please have scroll down. Where's the flavor text?
The flavor text is Yuta Takahashi, World Champion, XXVII.
No, it's supposed to say the thing.
It's supposed to say Yata.
It don't. So
that's a huge miss.
That is
a huge miss.
Oh my gosh.
It definitely should have said Yata. This is a good card.
Yeah.
Like 2/1 flash flying, 2 relevant creature types.
Yeah.
The ability to draw cards at instant speed and get bigger. Like that's a good card.
I
don't know that it's the best one I've ever seen of the championship cards.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, it's all of the championship cards in the modern era. Shout out to Rakdos Augur Mage. Have been good cards, like tournament playable 4-ofs. I don't expect this to be any different. That does all the things you want it to do.
Right. They didn't make it bad. They didn't, it's not underpowered by any way. It's not nerfed in any way. I did find here from John Del Beatty, who noted y'all got Royal Mint engraver Jody Clark to do the promo Galta and Maverin I have on the screen right now to check out if you'd like, which is gorgeous. Like, it's actually gorgeous. I think that's amazing.
Jody, I'm going to Google it right now. Clark coins.
Yep.
Is the first search that comes up. International artist. Did a bunch of Royal Mint stuff. So not the bills. Did the coins.
Oh, it's not their first ones either. They did a bunch of stuff for DMU. King Darian, Shauna. Wow. Yeah. Very nice.
I mean, that's pretty wild. Like, that's a pretty wild thing to have. To have somebody that made coins that a nation uses. Also, they did magic cards.
I love that. All right. So, as we move on to our first pick, we get to gather the townsfolk thanks to our sponsor, Mana Traders. The best tool to enhance your Magic Online experience. Use the code MAGICMICS for 12% off your next subscription with Mana Traders. Tell them we sent you. And plenty have so far. Thank you guys so very much for sponsoring or for supporting our sponsor who supports us, which is great and important. That said, moving on here to Gather. Now, there was a Pro Tour, and because they played many, many rounds of Magic, that gave one Reid Duke an edge that let him win the event. And as I understand it, Benton Madsen, who came up second in the event, first of all, qualifying on his phone and having this Cinderella story of 8-0 day one and went all the way to the finals. And as I understand it, Reid and him played round one, and they played in the finals. And that is, I mean, you can't script it better than that. Like, you just can't. Like, that was an amazing story.
That's pretty darn good.
Yeah.
If you could pick one person to win the Pro Tour that came after a long, long hiatus, you would probably pick Reid Duke. I mean, he is one of the most universally loved, and for good reason. He's a very nice man. He's charismatic. He looks good on a cereal box. Like, if you were Magic advertising the Pro Tour, you couldn't draw it up any better. And the top 8 featured 6 different archetypes. There was no possibility of a mirror match until the finals. All of the consensus best deck was nowhere to be seen. Like, no one had a consensus best deck, right? The most percentage of the field, I think, was something like 12% of the field, which is lower than even is normal. Super healthy metagame, very interesting stuff. You had, I think it was Is It Creativity that ended up taking it all down. Selesnya Auras, kind of a Cinderella story, along with the Cinderella player, making it all the way to the finals. Just a really interesting, good tournament. The coverage was good.
Coverage was
After
great.
a long hiatus, they didn't take a lot of time to shake the dust off. Good commentary. It was just all positive all weekend.
I was a little bummed that they didn't have like real places for you to go and watch coverage at the event. We were hoping that we would see some TVs or something like that, but a lot of people were actively running around trying to find where they could watch the event, and it ended up being that they were letting some people into the hall because it was held separately, but it was a cool event to be near. Like I said, we didn't get to watch it or interact much with the Pro Tour itself, but it was cool that I know towards the tail end of Sunday, Reid came to the bottom floor, which is where we had all the regular events, drafts, and five or PTQs and stuff, and the entire hall just erupted in like cheer and excitement, which was really cool.
That's awesome. Now I understand, like, for example, like pumping the Pro Tour coverage. I was reading a bunch of threads about the VIP experience, which were a lot of threads. I'll be honest, just reading through the lines, just telling y'all how it is. It felt like a lot of the feedback was they didn't get M30 packs and they weren't happy about it because there was no special bonus for spending $700 or whatever. Like the VIP area gave off the ball pit vibes. They didn't pump in the coverage to the VIP area. There was a few things like signings that they had unique to the VIP area, but otherwise there wasn't like hot food or anything, maybe a few snacks here and there. And so there was a lot kind of lacking in that regard, and also splitting the event to like the top floor was the Pro Tour, and then there were like the vendors in the middle and like the events on the bottom was kind of weird and a thing. So it was a unique show, as it were. But I got to check out the Pro Tour from home as I got to watch coverage, and this was the brilliant part, and this is something we talked about yesterday. Listen, I helped produce SCG Live for 5 years. Like, I'm telling you, not one time in all the years, whether I worked with Ruben or not Ruben, no matter who the crew was, Pete, Sully, Cedric, doesn't matter. There is not one person in that room, not one time in 5 years, who ever said, hey, what if we started like a couple hours later? And that way we'd never really have any downtime. And I'll be damned if that didn't work like a charm. Like, it worked amazingly well. There was
To clarify, what if we started a couple hours later but recorded everything?
Right, but recorded everything or recorded
and
additional
then
matches.
Cut the chaff.
Right,
yeah.
and cut the sideboarding and all the other stuff that you didn't really want to wait for. And so it was just like gameplay to gameplay to gameplay. The longest break was 2 minutes. No matter what it was, cutting to coverage or cutting to the desk or whatever. And I thought the commentators and the coverage people did a fantastic job. And the whole thing was just really well done. And if anything, it killed me that there wasn't a lot of advertising for the Pro Tour. There were no links in Arena. There was not one slide in Arena. And I looked the entire weekend of not like, watch the top 8 or watch the finals or watch anything or the Pro Tours happening. This didn't say anything. That broke my heart, man.
Yeah, I mean, if I have to pick some nits, the lack of advertising for the Pro Tour obviously is high on the list. I was not paying attention to the threads that you mentioned, but those are some nits worth picking as well. As someone who went to Vegas and didn't go to Philly, I was left with a little bit of wishing I'd gone to Philly instead of Vegas. Because it seemed like they did fix a lot of the issues that were in Vegas in Philly. And so it feels overall like a better event, which is what you want. You want to be better than you were yesterday, and then you want to be better tomorrow. So the rest of them in the future, hopefully it just keeps going up and up.
I went to both. I feel like they fixed the Magic gameplay events. The crew that was running, drafts and all the sign-up events, PTQs, things like that, those went a lot smoother. There was no space issues. There was no, events not firing, things like that, events firing multiple hours late. They had fixed all of that. The command zone was still largely empty, but there was a ton of free play space. So there wasn't anybody feeling like they couldn't get in to play Commander if they didn't, want to. But it did sort of seem like the Commander badges were unnecessary. As far as the rest of the show goes, I was less impressed than in Vegas. It seemed like the vendors were more unhappy. The space was broken down sort of poorly with the 3 different levels. So, like, if you were downstairs and you needed a card, you have to go out through security, back up, and in. Like, it was a big pain in the ass. Excuse me, sorry. At one point, I think vendors were kind of unhappy, so they started trying to funnel people into the hall to get to the commander zone, which was in a separate room through the back. But then they didn't open the entry to the command zone in the back. You had to go back up front in the building and back out and get in the command zone. So they made you go through the vendors, back behind the hall, and around near their merch booth, and then back all the way out again to the main walk, just to get to the command zone. So it felt like everything was very disjointed. There was issues with merch. There was issues with people getting the packages that they had signed up for as far as like the swag and product. I know all the content creators, if you didn't show up within the first 2 hours, you didn't get what they promised you. And I know some of the other people were having issues with that as well. So just a lot of the gameplay fixed, but the rest of the show did seem very disjointed.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where, and I can tell you, the behind the curtain secrets of running these types of shows is you want to funnel every player you can by the vendors. Just have them walk by them. Just get them in the vicinity, as it were. And if they don't want to buy anything, great. But you want to get them nearby. And so when you have a setup where it's difficult to get to the vendors or a pain in the butt, or you want to be down here versus there, it's going to create a little it's a little uncomfortableness, a little bad feelings, feelings of like, man, why is no one here? And then they try to do it, but they do it kind of awkwardly, and that can make more bad feelings and frustration, enter the picture. So it was a thing, but overall, I think they've learned some lessons there, and I do think, like, for example, we haven't brought this up yet. They were walking around, giving out 295 serialized individual numbered cards of Shivan, Dragon, and Secret Lair envelopes. So the Wizards employees were basically going around handing $500 bills to random people. And so when the VIPs are like, wow, we didn't get like our own little, drawing or like ability to do so. You just kind of had to be in the right place at the right time, wherever the Wizards person who was giving them out is. And that created some animosity as well. In that, if you're going to make a secret lair, the $700 people kind of could use a secret lair, right? Like they paid good money. Yeah.
Also, like, it left a really bad taste in people's mouth after giving all the money back plus some with the Magic 30 packs from Magic 30. I feel like a lot of people bought, the Commander passes expecting to get the same sort of experience where they were going to get a good chunk of that money back. And, we talked about during 30 that was a bit of a miss for a couple of different reasons. A, the people who bought those VIP passes, like, are they the ones that need $1,000 worth of product as a surprise? And now it's just doubled in the fact that now these people, who maybe wouldn't have bought it otherwise did, and or now that people have these expectations, and they dropped the ball on it. So it does feel like quite a bit of a miss. I don't think that they should have put those Shivan Dragons in the VIP tickets, but I do think that there should be some more clarity here from Wizards.
Right. I mean, I think, again, for me, it would just be like a drawing amongst the VIPs to give away like 50 of them or something. Just some little chunk, because so what happens when you bring this type of stuff up? They go, that was a special thing, and it's not promised, and we never said we were going to do it again, and blah, blah. Great. Human nature says otherwise, all right? Human nature says you rewarded these people with a secret cool prize because they paid a buttload of money. So I'm going to pay a buttload of money because you're probably going to do a super cool secret prize for me, and then they don't get it, and then they go, well, we showed you the list of what you're going to get, and you go, yeah, but you also showed the list the other time, and they got a super sweet bonus. You are the Willy Wonka factory. You can make the magical things that are worth more dollars that cost you almost nothing. You know what I'm saying? So like, there's
now we could argue about the secret lair that they added, because there was no secret lair in the last packages from 30. This time they added a secret layer and they gave it to everyone. So this was maybe the equivalent of doing something that we talked about where it was like, well, we wish that they would have included it into the Pearl and Ruby badges. So this is worth a lot less, but they gave it to everyone.
Right.
So like maybe that's the balancing act. So we should give them a little bit more benefit of the doubt there. But again, I do wish there was a statement being like, hey, this will not include Magic 30 packs.
Right, and again, I understand that, you know, the people who can afford it are not necessarily the people who need it, but I also read plenty of people who were like, I've spent a chunk of my savings because I felt like, you know, they would have earned it at least like maybe half or something back. I don't think people are wanting to get rich off this. It's more like, can I get some value?
Recoup.
Yeah, can I recoup some value out of this very high investment? That's the thing. But speaking of giving stuff away, we definitely wanted to mention that right now Tolarian Community College is doing their fundraiser for translifeline.org. I'll put it up here on the screen. You can win all sorts of stuff. He's giving away like 4 double masters boxes. I saw Reid Duke is giving away a coaching session. LSV's giving away a coaching session. There's products left and right. People are donating things. Go raise money for a great cause. Check out Tolarian College on Twitter and get your link in there. And there's a link in the show notes and stuff so you can find it. But fantastic cause. And, you know, like I said, stay tuned for cool stuff. Check out cool stuff tomorrow.
Yeah.
All right. So that said, let's move on here to Desperate Ravings. Wizards of the Coast, we mentioned this a little bit, I think, last week, is a $1 billion brand. They did $1 billion in revenue. That's not profit, that's revenue, but they did make $1 billion. And then the fourth quarter earnings came out, and it was uncomfortable, and the stock is still tanking. So that's a problem.
The Hasbro stock.
Hasbro stock. Well, there's no Wizard stock, so it's all, you know, Hasbro.
Just to clarify.
I mean, it's all one company, right? So
it is one company, but if Wizards of the Coast is is Wizards of the Coast a $1 billion company?
Wizards of the Coast earned $1 billion in revenue.
So it's a $1 billion division of Hasbro.
Yes, not a subsidiary anymore.
Hasbro stock is going down.
That's
it is nitpicking, but just clarifying.
Sure. And it's just one of those things where, you know, there's narratives that kind of enter the marketplace at some point. There was the takeover from John Finkel's investment company and things that happened earlier or later last year, as it were. And, you know, our growth in Wizards was not without its challenges, says Chris Cox, the president. Or the CEO, rather, now of Hasbro. Quote, we were too aggressive in some of our pricing assumptions, notably our 30th anniversary edition of Magic, and pulled back on available supply, impacting Q4 results.
Yeah.
They couldn't make free money off 30th anniversary.
That is as close to an admission of guilt as we're going to get.
As you're ever going to see come from that level of executive, I guess is the way to say it. And between that and the D&D OGL blow up, it's been rough, as we've, seen over the past weeks and months. But I did want to note one weird random thing that popped out of nowhere. They do surveys, for Magic players, and they try to get as many people as they can to interact with them. And one of the questions on the most recent one for Phyrexia, All Will Be One, was if Magic the Gathering released a booster that combined the gameplay of draft boosters with the set boosters' special features and chance for bonus rare cards, which of these names would you prefer, play booster or game booster?
I don't like either of those.
I don't necessarily like that either. Nerd Girl, do we need more variants in limited formats?
I mean, didn't we already kind of get that with the new thing that they're doing where we're getting the, up to 5 uncommons bonus slot?
1 to 2 rares.
And now they're going to magnify that even more?
Yeah.
So will they have regular draft boosters, or are they just going to nix them?
There is some, and as we've seen over the years, there's definitely a pushback to almost anything seen as competitive, right? And they go, well, what's the most fun? Well, fun is these crazy cards getting extra rares and super foilies and all these wild interactions and whatever.
Here's it's time for Ruben to have a soapbox moment.
Oh boy.
I'm sorry. And if you want to disagree with me, if you want to call a red zone, you probably aren't going to disagree with me because on this show we're all competitive. I'm tired of being looked at like I'm the bad guy because I like to win. I like having fun. I like but I also like to optimize, and the way I have fun is by winning. I'm not the bad guy for wanting to win at a game that you can win. Like, to me, a rule set is a box of toys. And if I can optimize and use those rules as tools to be the best at something, that is me having fun, and you shouldn't villainize me for how my fun isn't wrong. So this attitude that is pervasive recently, especially with Commander taking over, all of the Invisibles, I'm not at fault here. Like, we're not at fault for wanting to win at Magic. I don't need variants in my draft boosters. You know what? If you want to come out with a draft booster that makes you more money, you know what? Print black and white cards that only have words on them. Because I'll have just as much fun doing that. Like, I love the art. Like, I love that stuff. But if you're drawing the line at the way people have fun is with a million different arts and personalizing their decks and all of that stuff, you're taking away from my fun.
And Ruben, how much product have you bought of Magic product in the last 6 months?
Oh, in the last 6 months? Almost none. Although...
So they're not talking to you.
That's true. I have done it online. I haven't bought product.
Yeah. I mean, realistically, the reason that more bombs, more art, more this, more that is profitable is because it appeals to a larger market. The more competitive a game is, which Magic always has been, the less people there are playing it. That's why Hearthstone appeals to the masses. That's why Limited is oftentimes like more popular than Legacy, because you can open a dragon and you can still win Magic. Anytime you make less competitive players more able to win, you appeal to a wider audience, which makes your game more money. Which is why games like that can Hearthstone drafts are super cheap, but because so many people play Hearthstone, it's very, very marketable and you can easily monetize that. So I think they're just trying to change that structure. I agree, I don't like it, but that's what they're doing here. And it's pretty plain to see, and the more dragons there are, the more people that can have fun playing Magic, more product they'll move.
There's gotta be a middle ground, though.
I would like there to be. I think they're trying to find that middle ground. It's crazy. It's absolutely wild, because for us, Ruben and I, to be on the PTQ grind back in the aughts, and to see like Wizards, like I'm telling, for those who particularly came into the game the past couple of years, Wizards, like the Pro Tour was the apex of Magic everything. It was, how good did R&D do? How good is the company doing? Like, for people being excited about it and have them showing up and grinding out the best decks and the best ideas, and also, and that's where they get all their R&D members from, is the Pro Tour, right? And so, like, it was never even a question of should we cater to Commander players. They basically accidentally got Ken Nagel, who was a Commander player, who was also a fantastic designer, who would go in there, and he was one of the first ones who would say things like, say each opponent, don't say, target opponent, say each opponent does this, and get that slow wheel turning, which is now just turned into the main focus of the company. So I recognize that it's super fun to have fun with Magic, and that's cool. But much like Ruben, I have my fun winning at Magic and playing cool decks, and so I enjoy that a lot. And so the Pro Tour, they are putting money where their mouth is. It was not a cheap production. All that prize money did have to come from somewhere, and I understand that. I love the fact that Huey is there at the company. He's a great voice to advocate for constructed, tournament Magic. And I also recognize that things have changed. You know what I mean? You can't walk into a Magic Con, Command Fest, whatever you want to call it these days. You have to buy a ticket to get in the door. And pre-pandemic, that did not exist. And post-pandemic, that's all that exists. But people are also paying for that privilege, right? And to be able to do that is to give you higher quality events that do have those stages, right? And all those cosplayers and all those events like the Command Zone Live and stuff that they can do, because they bring in those funds and it's less of a risk in order to rent all that space and so on and so forth. So it's been just absolutely wild, honestly, to see them care about one thing and then totally care about almost the opposite thing and what that's done to Magic. It's been a while. That said, let's go ahead and turn the corner here to the finisher. Now, Galta and Mavrin, Multani and Yargle, Slimefoot and Squee. This set might be the most ambitious team-up event since Candy Corn Oreos. I mean, truthfully. But tell me, outside of March of the Machine, what team-up are you most rooting to see in 2023, Ruben?
With social media apps under constant threat of crumbling under their own weight, I'm excited for the eventual team-up of Twitter and TikTok, which will hopefully be called Mr. Musk's Wild Ride.
Nerd girl?
All right, well, I don't know how you two have time to watch movies and play other games. I'm too busy working. So my pitch is to mash up my two favorite things, my dog and my team. So look out for the new channel, DGen Hams.
Now, you want Blockbuster Gold? You make the BS mashup of all BS mashups. You combine Counter-Strike and Marvel Snap, the most popular video game in the world, and of course also Counter-Strike. Counter-Strike, they just broke a record of 1.3 million concurrent players, by the way. Absolutely crushing.
I just like daggering.
I know. I love Counter-Strike. And that ends another live episode of Magic Mike's. Thanks for joining us here to discuss all things Magic. Thank you, Nerd Girl.
Thanks for having me, guys. See you next week.
Thank you, Ruben.
Thank you.
And I'll move on here to our final slide. I want to thank our sponsor, CoolStuffInc.com, our co-sponsor, Mana Traders, my co-host, MTG Nerd Girl and Ruben Bressler. You guys for watching and listening. I hope you support us at patreon.com/magicmics. Please follow, like, tweet, favorite, share, subscribe to everything social that tells people we exist. Catch us online on our Discord, twitch.tv at Magic Mics, on Twitter at Magic Mics Cast, our Magic Mics subreddit, and like the Magic Mics page on Facebook. Or join us here next week. Same time, not quite, but same place for another episode of Magic Mics. Good night, everybody.